There's an account sitting inside your employee benefits portal right now that the IRS legally cannot touch. Not on the way in, not while it grows, not on the way out. 3 separate moments where every other account in the American tax code takes its cut, and this one takes 0. And here's what's genuinely maddening. Most people in their 40s already have access to it. They signed up for it during open enrollment, probably in November, probably while half paying attention, probably right after they picked their dental plan. And then they've been using it wrong ever since. The most expensive part of this mistake is invisible. No statement shows it. No advisor points it out. By the time most people realize what they've been doing wrong, the compounding damage is already permanent. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what wrong looks like, exactly what right looks like, and why the gap between the two on identical income with identical contributions over identical years is $490,000. Meet Mark. He's 43, married, 2 kids, pulls in around $88,000 a year working in logistics management outside of Columbus, Ohio. Mark is not financially reckless. He maxes out his 401k. He has a Roth IRA. He reads the articles. By every standard measure, Mark is doing the right things. He also has a health savings account through his employer, and he has been draining it to 0 every single December for the past 6 years. Mark thought he was making responsible financial decisions. In reality, he was quietly liquidating future retirement years, one medical bill at a time. He doesn't know that yet. Here's where most people check out, because the words health savings account sound like something your HR rep explains during a 45-minute orientation nobody fully remembers. So let me tell you what this account actually is before I tell you what Mark is doing wrong with it. The HSA is the only account in the United States tax code that is simultaneously tax-deductible going in, tax-free while it grows, and tax-free when it comes out. 3 separate tax advantages on the same dollar. Your 401k gives you a break on the way in, but taxes every withdrawal as ordinary income. Your Roth IRA gives you tax-free growth and withdrawal, but 0 deduction when you contribute. A regular brokerage account taxes you at every single stage. The HSA is the only account where the IRS never collects. Not at entry, not during growth, not at exit, as long as you follow the rules. And for most people who contribute through payroll, there's a 4th advantage almost nobody mentions. You also skip FICA taxes, the 7.65% that fund Social Security and Medicare. Your 401k doesn't escape FICA. Your Roth IRA doesn't escape FICA. The HSA does. On the 2026 family maximum of $8,750, that's an additional $669 per year the IRS never sees. Over 22 years of contributions, that alone adds up to more than $14,000 in savings no other account can match. Technically, this isn't a triple tax advantage. It's quadruple. The IRS created an account where the same dollar can legally avoid taxes 4 separate times. And most people use it to pay for cough medicine, which is kind of like buying groceries with a winning lottery ticket. Once you understand the HSA correctly, you stop seeing it as a medical account entirely. The tax code rewards behavior most people were never taught to use. Now here's what Mark has been doing. Every year, Mark contributes the family maximum to his HSA. He does that part right. His daughter needs an eye exam and new glasses. He pays from the HSA. His wife has a specialist visit. HSA. His son's prescription, the dental cleaning, the urgent care copay in February when the whole house got sick. All HSA. Mark probably felt productive every time he swiped that card. Swipe. Covered. Done. That tiny feeling of efficiency quietly cost him hundreds of thousands in future compounding. The cruel part is that the mistake feels harmless while time is still fixable. By November of most years, Mark's HSA balance is around $800. By December, it's 0. He reloads in January and repeats the cycle. After 6 years of contributing, he has essentially nothing to show for it. He treated the most powerful retirement account in the tax code like a medical debit card. And every dollar he pulled out didn't just disappear. It disappeared and then compounded against him. because that dollar is no longer inside the account, growing at 7% annually, untaxed for the next 2 decades. Compounding hates interruption. And this is where the mistake becomes expensive. Mark is 43. He qualifies for the full family contribution limit, $8,750 in 2026. From age 43 to 54, he contributes $8,750 per year. At 55, the IRS allows a $1,000 catch-up contribution, bringing his annual total to $9,750. He continues until 64. Total contributions over 22 years, roughly $204,500. Apply a 7% real return, the historical inflation-adjusted average of the S&P 500. Mark's HSA balance at 65, approximately $490,000. Almost $500,000 in an account the IRS cannot touch. Now, put that same mark on both sides of the screen. Left mark keeps draining the HSA every year. Same contributions, same income, same family expenses. His balance at 65, functionally zero. Right mark, same everything, except he stopped paying medical bills from the HSA. His balance at 65, $490,000. The difference between the two versions of Mark isn't income. It's where the receipt went. Mark didn't lose $490,000 because he made bad investments. He lost it because he paid for glasses the normal way. Nothing about the mistake looked dangerous while it was happening. That's the whole problem. Here's how the correct version works. When Mark's daughter needs braces next year, $4,800, he pays that from his checking account. Regular, boring, already taxed money. He pays the bill, gets the receipt, saves it in a folder on his computer labeled HSA Reimbursements. That's it. The $4,800 in the HSA stays untouched. It goes into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund and starts compounding. And here's the part that almost no one understands. The IRS has no time limit on HSA reimbursements. None. A medical receipt from 2026 is equally valid in 2047. Mark can pay a $40 copay today, save the receipt, let that $40 compound inside the HSA for 20 years, and pull it out completely tax-free 2 decades from now. The folder isn't a gimmick. It's a legal, IRS-compliant mechanism for building a 6-figure retirement account out of expenses Mark was going to have anyway. This isn't a rich person strategy. It's a behavior strategy. The account already exists in the same benefits portal most people ignore every November. But the reimbursement trick is only half the story. Now watch what happens at 65. The first exit, Mark opens that folder. After 22 years of doctors, dentists, orthodontists, and specialists, his total out-of-pocket spending is somewhere in the $70,000 to $90,000 range. He totals it up and withdraws that entire amount from the HSA completely tax-free. $80,000 in cash. Zero tax. The timing of the original expense is irrelevant to the IRS. The second exit is where most retirees quietly bleed money, and the HSA quietly stops the bleeding. Now the account changes again. Fidelity's most recent estimate puts average healthcare costs for a 65-year-old couple above $300,000 over a full retirement. Medicare premiums, supplemental coverage, prescription drugs, dental and vision that Medicare barely covers, hearing aids, long-term care insurance premiums. All of it qualifies for tax-free HSA withdrawal. One version of Mark reaches retirement with healthcare already funded. The other spends the next 20 years paying medical costs using taxable withdrawals from his 401k. Every dollar first going through ordinary income tax before it reaches a doctor's bill. Same contributions. The only difference is a folder and a behavior. The third exit. After age 65, the HSA quietly transforms. Any remaining balance can be withdrawn for any purpose. A car, a renovation, a gift to the grandkids, taxed as ordinary income, exactly like a traditional IRA. No penalty, no extra fee. Worst case scenario, the HSA performs no worse than a 401k. Every other scenario, it dramatically outperforms. The HSA doesn't just avoid taxes once. It avoids them at every stage where wealth normally gets drained. Now here's the trap, the one that almost no one mentions until the damage is done. Mark cannot contribute to an HSA during the 6 months before he enrolls in Medicare. Not 6 months before he turns 65. 6 months before Medicare enrollment, which is a different date and a different decision. If Mark contributes $8,750 during a period that Medicare retroactively covers, the IRS hits him with an excess contribution penalty, 6% of the excess amount. Every year the money stays in the account. That's $525 a year. It doesn't resolve itself. It compounds. And the Medicare rule makes this even more dangerous than it first sounds. If Mark takes Social Security at 62, Medicare Part A is automatically backdated at enrollment, sometimes by as much as 6 months. That backdating can retroactively disqualify contributions he already made. The mistake doesn't announce itself. It shows up years later as a compounding penalty on money Mark thought was perfectly legal. If Mark delays Social Security past 65, he may be able to delay Medicare enrollment as well, which extends his HSA contribution window. Real planning lever, but only if he knows it exists before making those decisions. Not after. This is a 40s planning problem, not a 64-year-old's last-minute scramble. So here's what correct actually looks like. Rule 1. Verify your health insurance is a high-deductible health plan. If it is, the door is open. If it isn't, check whether switching to an HDHB during the next open enrollment makes sense for your family's actual healthcare usage. Not just the premium, but the full out-of-pocket math. Rule 2. Contribute the family maximum every year. $8,750 in 2026. Not what your employer suggests. The maximum. The math only works at scale. Rule 3. Stop paying medical bills from the HSA. Pay them from cash flow. Save every receipt in a dedicated folder organized by year. Rule 4. Invest the balance. Most HSA providers let you move funds into index funds once you cross a minimum threshold. Put in a low-cost S&P 500 fund and stop touching it. Compounding only works if you stop interrupting it. Rule 5. Plan the final contribution year now. Set a calendar reminder for the 6-month Medicare cutoff. Know the date. Don't discover it the hard way at 64. Mark isn't losing money because he failed to contribute. He's losing it because he keeps interrupting the growth. And every time he swiped that HSA card, it felt responsible. Most financial mistakes in your 40s don't feel dangerous when they happen. They feel normal. The system quietly rewards people who understand time better than spending and punishes everyone else without ever sending a warning. If Mark starts this correctly at 43, 22 years of compounding gets him to $490,000. If he waits until 50, the same contributions at the same return get him to approximately $230,000. Not because he contributed less, because the runway shrank by 7 years. That missing $260,000 isn't a market crash. It's 7 more years of a habit that felt disciplined while quietly draining his future. Some financial mistakes explode immediately. The dangerous ones stay invisible for 20 years, while compounding quietly rewrites your retirement. Most people spend 30 years walking past the most powerful account they own, not because it was hidden, but because nobody ever told them it wasn't supposed to be used like a checking account. Now you know.